Okay, so we'll be starting off today's show the same way we start every Tuesday edition of the Zach Kroll Sports Podcast, and that is with my 10 main takeaways of the week. This has been probably my favorite segment on every show each and every week, doing this, recapping everything that went down from the previous week of football. I love it. I'll miss it. And one last time, without further ado, boys, hit the music. Here we go. Takeaway number one. I did not agree with what Doug Peterson did on Sunday Night Football. I did not agree with the way the Philadelphia Eagles handled this whole situation. But with that being said, Joe Judge has to shut his mouth. Because I'll tell you what, if Joe Judge wants to say that while he is the head coach of the New York Football Giants, his team is never going to do that and never going to take a game off, well, I'll tell you what, Joe. Just wait, because I think you're a good enough coach to lead your team eventually to an NFC East title. And you better not have your team resting out a Week 17 game if you're in a position playing for absolutely nothing. Because guess what? That's what the Philadelphia Eagles were doing last night, playing in a game for absolutely nothing. If I was Doug Peterson, would I have taken Jalen Hurts out of the game? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I don't think that the New York Giants have any right to be complaining as much as they are when you consider the fact that, they won 6 games. If this game was played at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock opposed to Sunday Night Football, there is zero way that the headlines would be as big as they are and as big as they have been over the last couple weeks. One thing I'll say about the Giants is this, though. They really did come to play against the Cowboys. They were the better coach team. They executed much properly. Defense really got in the face of Andy Dalton. Good job by Joe Judge leading his Giants to a victory over the Cowboys in a must-win game. Takeaway number 2. The Chargers made the right decision with Anthony Lynn. I gotta be honest, when you guys watch Justin Herbert play, I don't know about you guys, but I see a special player. And I see a player that is really good. And the crazy thing is, he could get even better with proper coaching and proper development. The Chargers have the talent, and I think playing for a coach like Anthony Lynn, who wasn't anything special from the offensive side of the ball and offensive creativity, Justin Herbert was still able to shine thanks to not only his natural talent and ability, but playing with guys like Keenan Allen, playing with a guy like Mike Williams, playing with Austin Eckler. And I think if you give him a guy like Brian Daboll or a guy like Arthur Smith as a head coach, that is going to be a scary sight for the rest of the league, because Justin is a player that, let's face facts, I did not expect him to be this good. The Miami Dolphins have to be regretting the fact that they took Tua over Justin Herbert, because when you watch Herbert, it is clear that the natural talent, the natural ability is there, and he just pops. The talent just pops. He would have my vote for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I know Justin Jefferson on the Vikings has been phenomenal, but Justin Herbert breaking a rookie record with 31 touchdown passes, absolutely ridiculous, and the Chargers made the right call. I understand that they ended the season well playing for Anthony Lynn, and he's a really nice guy, and maybe he'll get another job eventually, and he definitely should be on a staff next year. But at the same time, there were just way too many occurrences where I would watch the Los Angeles Chargers play this season, and I'd just be like, the clock management in this game is absolutely atrocious, and that was including during one of their wins on Thursday Night Football against the Las Vegas Raiders. So the Chargers are a team that could have a very bright future. They just have to hire the proper coach to develop Justin Herbert. Takeaway number 3. The Green Bay Packers could be playing the best football in the NFL. And it's either between them or Buffalo. Right now, I believe that would be my prediction for the Super Bowl. I would have Buffalo over Kansas City, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I really like what Green Bay did on Sunday against the Bears, because it was basically a playoff game for the Bears. Now, they did get lucky when you consider the fact that the Arizona Cardinals just choked their game and their season away against the Los Angeles Rams, and we're actually going to speak about Arizona a little bit more in depth later in today's show. But I do believe that when you look at Green Bay and their performance in this game, Chicago was basically playing for their playoff lives, and Green Bay was playing for that number 1 seed. They know as a team how important it is playing at home in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field Plus, when you consider the fact that they're going to be fresh coming off that bye week, it is going to be very hard for a team in the NFC, I believe, to go into Lambeau Field and beat a very fresh Green Bay Packer team. Matt LaFleur has done a really good job since he's taken over as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. And let's face facts, all he does is win football games. And him and Aaron Rodgers seem to be on the right page. They seem to be getting along, which, if you are a fan of the Green Bay Packers, is a great sign. And we all know Aaron Rodgers has reminded us this season how special of a player he is. And he only has one ring. And I wouldn't be shocked if he ends the season with another one, because he has been on a mission really since, I believe, the Packers decided to draft Jordan Love with their first-round pick. He's been playing great football. I loved how he went into Chicago in the first half yesterday, just swinging the ball all over the field, 13 of 13. The Packers are a really good team, and they are going to be tough to beat in Lambeau in the playoffs. Takeaway number 4. I understand the Seattle Seahawks fought back and ended up getting the victory over the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday, but at the same time, it wasn't really an impressive effort. And once again, it was much of the same story, but with the Seattle Seahawks. Their defense played really well. I understand it was against CJ Beathard and a San Francisco 49er offense that is super banged up, and a 49er offense that wasn't playing for anything, and still late in the game, Seattle's offense was down and still found a way to win the game. Russell Wilson bailed them out again, very similarly to the way he bailed them out against the Los Angeles Rams last week. In that game against the Rams, the Seattle Seahawks really didn't play that great in particular. Just Russell Wilson led them down the field for 2 drives, and that ultimately was the difference and was really the main reason why the Seattle Seahawks ended up winning that game. And I just want to see the Seattle Seahawks offense play better, because I know they're capable of it. The way this defense has been playing over the last couple weeks has been really fun to watch, and it's frustrating if you're a Seahawks fan, because when you look at this offense, you know what Russell Wilson is capable of, and really, since about week 6 or 7 of this season, his game has taken a little bit of a decline, and it's going to be interesting to see if, now that he's in the playoffs, it's a new season for some teams. Maybe he could just step up and the Seahawks could let him cook and he'll get going. Now, I do think having the running backs healthy, including Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde, is a big difference maker. We're going to preview the Seahawks-Rams game on Thursday's episode of the podcast, but that is going to be a very entertaining playoff game. Always good when we see 2 division rivals matching up in the playoffs, but watching Seattle against San Francisco, they weren't that impressive. Takeaway number 5, I don't know if you guys saw the report, but John Elway apparently has gained some more power in Denver by hiring a new general manager, as he is the VP of football operations. But here's my question with this, right? What has John Elway done to deserve more power? When you watch the Denver Broncos, are you confident exactly in the direction that it looks like they seem to be going in right now? Because I got to be honest with you, when I watch this Denver Bronco team, that doesn't seem like the case. And I get it. Drew Lock actually played pretty well on Sunday against the Raiders. That was a very entertaining game. I know it didn't really mean anything for either team, but I'm curious to see what direction the Broncos going, because Vic Fangio, I don't think that he is a coach that is capable of bringing the Broncos to the Super Bowl back. They've only won the Super Bowl, it was only a couple of years ago. But the problem with Vic Fangio is this. He is known to be one of the best defensive coaches in the NFL, but it's not like the Broncos defense is playing well. And I understand they've been super banged up, losing Von Miller, and I know you guys saw the text messages that our guy Von received the other day, or sent the other day, that leaked earlier this morning. And if you are a fan of the Denver Broncos, that obviously is not an ideal situation. So Denver might cut him. I wouldn't be shocked if they do. But Courtland Sutton getting hurt, I think that could have been a guy that could be a big difference maker. At least the tackle from Utah, Garrett Bowles, he had a really nice bounce back season. He earned himself a nice contract. Maybe he could be a guy that Denver could really focus on as a building block. Same thing could be said about Tim Patrick. I think he could be a guy that could be a building block. Noah Fant. So maybe if John Elway could get that quarterback Denver could be fine, but the problem is he hasn't shown me anything based on his previous track record that makes me confident. Takeaway number 6, Derrick Henry is just built different. And he wrapped up his 2,000-yard season on Sunday against the Houston Texans, leading the Tennessee Titans to victory along with Ryan Tannehill. And I'll give the Titans credit. They won the AFC South. I predicted the Indianapolis Colts to win the division in the preseason. When I looked at the season that Ryan Tannehill had last year, I gotta be honest with you guys. This season, I expected regression. But Ryan Tannehill is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. I love the chemistry he has with A.J. Brown, and I do think the Titans offense is capable to winning a playoff game or two come next week. But here's the problem. The Titans defense is just horrific. The Houston Texans offense played really well in this game, and I just don't know how the game was that close when the Tennessee Titans offense was playing that well. We also saw what the Green Bay Packers were able to do against Tennessee Titans defense on Sunday Night Football a couple Sunday nights ago in the snow, and Lamar Jackson could take advantage of the Titans defense because their pass defense isn't very good. But I just am not necessarily sure that Lamar Jackson is going to be able to take advantage. I think of all of the playoff games coming up this weekend, the one that I am the least confident in picking a winner is Titans-Ravens. I have no idea who's going to win that game. And from a matchup perspective, it's going to be very interesting to see two good coaches going at it head-to-head and seeing what each one comes up with. I think Titans-Ravens is going to be the ultimate chess match. But I just wanted to say once again, salute to Derrick Henry. I think he is on a Hall of Fame trajectory to lead the NFL in rushing back-to-back seasons. That is nothing to joke around about. He's a running back that has been phenomenal and super impressive. Props to the king, Derrick Henry. Takeaway number 7. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense is playing really well, and Tom Brady has proven that he indeed does have some gas left in the tank. My only issue with the Buccaneers, though, is I can't go into the playoffs feeling 100% confident that the Buccaneers offense is definitely going to be able to move the ball against the Washington football team for a couple reasons. Number one, Mike Evans. That injury looked bad. It's obviously a knee. That's something you never want to mess with. So hopefully he'll be 100% healthy and ready to go. I understand in this game against the Atlanta Falcons, Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown both played really well. That was AB's best game as a Buck. So if he could ride some of that momentum going into the playoffs, that would obviously be a good sign for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team. But I'm telling you, it's a huge difference going from tearing up defenses like Atlanta and Detroit, like Tampa Bay has been doing over the last couple weeks, compared to going on the road in Washington in prime time in a playoff game against that defense and Chase Young and the way they're playing. Washington and Tampa Bay is probably the game I'm looking most forward to, because I do think there is a legitimate chance that Washington could win that game, and I'm going to be so curious to see how Tampa Bay's offensive line holds up against Washington. I understand Tristan Wirfs, the rookie out of Iowa, has had a phenomenal season, better than anyone could have really asked, and it's going to be a big test for him on Saturday night, going up against Chase Young and that Washington defense. But I'll say this about Tampa's offense once again. I like what I've seen recently, but I'm not 100% confident that it could keep itself going when you're going up against defenses like Washington, who is significantly better than the defenses you've played over the last couple weeks. Takeaway number 8. The New York Jets finally announced that they will be parting ways with Adam Gase, and it's frustrating as a Jet fan, because at the time when the New York Jets decided that this was the guy they were going to hire, we all knew that this wasn't an ideal situation. Adam Gase, in 2 years as the head coach of the New York Jets, really did not do anything to benefit the team. He even said it himself during his press conferences that he took full responsibility for Sam Darnold not developing properly and that he needed to do better as a coach. It is so frustrating as a Jet fan watching this whole situation unfold and watching Josh Allen, a quarterback that, let's face facts, coming out of that draft, I think everyone could have agreed that when you watched Sam Darnold play football compared to Josh Allen, that Sam Darnold was the better football player. He was the better natural passer. But Josh Allen has shown you how important coaching and development is, because Sean McDermott and Brian Daboll have done a great job developing Josh Allen to the best of their ability, and Brandon Beane has done a great job, their GM, putting the proper weapons around Josh Allen and putting him in a proper and good position to succeed. And that's not what the New York Jets have done. Their offensive line play over the last couple of years has been hideous. They trade Jamal Adams. They don't bring in any legitimate weapons for Sam Darnold, and as a Jet fan, that's frustrating. But at the same time, Joe Douglas has a big offseason ahead of him. The team is officially in rebuild mode. He obviously has a big decision to make at quarterback. The Jets right now are picking at number 2. They could trade the pick if they want, but if they like Justin Fields, if they like Zach Wilson that much, I would have no problem with the Jets pulling the trigger and taking that quarterback. But at the same time, Joe Douglas really needs to evaluate Sam Darnold and ask himself, if I hire the right coach, could Sam Darnold be our quarterback that could lead us to victory? Takeaway number 9. It was nice to see Mason Rudolph and Myles Garrett shake hands after the game on Sunday, but they're going to be meeting again in the playoffs next week. And we're going to get into this game a little bit more specifically later in the show, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and I'll talk a little bit about the Cleveland Browns and just about the fact that they have clinched their first playoff berth since the 2002 season. And I'll say this, it obviously sucks that it was announced earlier this morning that Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski has tested positive for COVID, but at the same time, I'll say this about Cleveland and their football team. Kevin Stefanski deserves a lot of credit. Baker Mayfield looks like a totally different football player now compared to the first 2 years of his career, and I do believe that coaching and the job Kevin Stefanski has done has a lot to do with that. You could see that Baker this season is playing with much more confidence than in the past, and he's done a really nice job proving a lot of the doubters wrong that said he couldn't lead a team to the playoffs. Now, is he as good as a number 1 pick you would want it to be ideally? No, but at the same time, that's okay if he's not Justin Herbert. It's okay if he's not Josh Allen, because Kevin Stefanski knows that his job is to win football games. And I think Baker Mayfield has done enough so far this season to show all of us that next year he will be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. And Kevin Stefanski knows how to put the team in a position to win with Baker Mayfield as the starting quarterback, especially when they're facing inferior opponents. A lot of people say that with the Cleveland Browns, they only made the playoffs because of their easy schedule. Well, maybe that's the case, but I'll give them credit because they were able to take advantage of it, unlike many other teams across the NFL, beating a team like Philadelphia at home, beating a team like Houston at home. Those are games that not every Cleveland Brown team of the past is able to win. And takeaway number 10, finally, I'm telling you, I think the Miami Dolphins have a legitimate decision to make in terms of drafting a quarterback with the number 3 pick. And I am not saying that the Miami Dolphins should draft a quarterback just for the sake of drafting a quarterback. I think in a kind of similar situation to the New York Jets, if the draft goes 1-2 like we expected right now, being Trevor Lawrence to the Jaguars 1 and Justin Fields to the New York Jets at 2, and the Miami Dolphins and Chris Grier evaluate Zach Wilson, the quarterback from BYU, and they say to themselves, look, we made a mistake drafting Tua, and we think that with proper development and with proper coaching that Zach Wilson could be the quarterback of the future, and that we're more confident in Zach Wilson developing into a star than Tua. I would have no problem with the Miami Dolphins deciding to pull the trigger. They just have to be 100% sure that Zach Wilson is that guy, and that would be a move that if Chris Grier makes it and it doesn't work out and Tua goes to another team, because let's face it, it's not like Tua has been hideous as the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. He has done enough where if the Miami Dolphins do decide to move on and draft another quarterback, there will be another team on the phone instantly ready to make him their starting quarterback and QB of the future. So if Chris Grier makes this decision, he better be 100% confident that it's the right one, because Tua, even though he really didn't play well against Buffalo, he really didn't play well against the Raiders, you could also make the argument that he didn't have a lot of things going for him, including the fact that Miami's weapons are horrible. the play calling wasn't ideal. They weren't allowing him to throw the ball more than 5 yards. Chan Gailey, there were some false reports that dropped yesterday that he would be fired as the Dolphins offensive coordinator. And let's say this, if I was a Dolphin fan, I really would not want him back next season.